Welcome to the Nick and Matt Show. Bringing the player interviews you want to hear and the hot topics you want to discuss. Streaming live on the Foundation Podcast YouTube channel, here's Nick and Matt.
I've got Ricky Wysocki in the green room. We're going to pull him in right about now. Ricky Wysocki, everybody. How are your putts feeling? Let's just say the back nine even. If you had to rate it 1 to 10, like how is it feeling for you?
It was, my putt was off, to be honest. And it was just something clicked after. And it's just like one of those things you see, like some those shooters in basketball, they miss, 4 or 5 threes. And then once they see a three go in, they really get that confidence. And I think that's the same thing with putting. Once you see one go in, you're like, okay, there isn't a lid on the basket. They do go in. And so it kind of felt like that. Once I saw something putt go in, I had a lot of confidence.
There you go. Now talk to us about one of the biggest storylines. People are talking about what putter you were using for those longer putts. People are saying a Casey Whale. People are saying Casey Pro AVRs. What were you putting with?
So I actually switched. So the first round, I switched to the Whale, the Casey Pro Whale. It's a little wider rim. So it's the same profile, similar profile as AVR. So so I think that allowed me to get a little extra glide and distance on my longer putts, and I was noticing that in my practice rounds, and I really liked that. So I think that was a big reason why I switched, is I felt like I got effortless distance on the longer putts, and I think that's something that I can really work with in the future. So I'm super excited to be working with a new putter. It's kind of a new fun little challenge for me to work in the new putter in the bag. I think that's the hardest disc to work in the bag out of all the slots.
Yeah, definitely.
So we've got a chance to ask you any questions we want. I mean, there's a whole bunch of things we could talk about. I'm curious to know, leading up to this event, it's hard to say that you're not performing well, because I think that would be way far-fetched, but maybe you weren't performing up to your standard. Could you talk about, I don't know, you have a very high standard. If you're not winning, you feel like you're not doing something right. That's my understanding. So can you talk about the previous month or so?
Yeah, I think that, I mean, I guess it all, Worlds was a super big tournament. Obviously, that's our number one focus is, trying to get our game to feel 100% at its best for Worlds. And I just, I had a lot of, weird stuff happening, and it just wasn't my week. It was one of those weeks, and it happens to absolutely everybody. Nobody's immune to bad breaks or, Look, I missed some putts that I shouldn't have, and there was a lot of shots that I missed that I can control. So that's what I take away, is what I can control out of it. The 1 or 2 or 3 bad strokes that were contributed to bad luck, I still wouldn't have won. So, it's something to where that's still on me. I'm not blaming it on that. But, so Worlds just, it just kind of, every year at Worlds, it always seems like it's someone's week, and I think it's obvious to say that it was James's week, and he was meant to win. He was playing well. I think the fort suited his game really well for the way he was playing, and I just didn't play that great at the fort. I think that I played really good at mulligans, and I just didn't capitalize on a lot of the holes out at the fort, but. That's why we play for a long season. I mean, just because you don't win the Worlds doesn't mean you can't be the best player for the year. I think that we played to play consistent. I'm trying to win every week, but I'm also trying to have good finishes, high in the points and on all that stuff, and get wins. So that's the beauty of our sport. If you have a couple bad finishes, you can make up for it with a win the next week. And that's exactly what I did this week. And I was super pumped with the way I came back after D-Glow. I got 8th and so, I was super pumped to come out the first round this week and shoot a 15. And that kind of allowed me to be in the driver's seat all week and really just have a chance to win all week. And so that first round really sparked the tournament for me, allowing me to feel comfortable. And even when I wasn't winning, I was down by 1 to Eagle and Paul with like 4 or 5, 6 holes to play, but I was still right there. I was always had a chance. I never was out of reach.
Yeah. So obviously you came out with the tournament, the first round, you shot the course record. And then one of the main storylines I think we can have from you for this week was Mando provided us these stats, but your driving was incredible this week. Gain tee to green, you were second place in that. Fairways hit, you were first place at 94%. Your park percentage was second place. Circle 1 in regulation, Circle 2 in regulation, both second place. So obviously off the tee pad and on your up shots, you're playing incredible. Where do you think that's coming from? All of a sudden, your accuracy just seems to be there. Is it just better disc selection? Working on it? What are you doing?
Yeah, so that's actually super interesting. I think that this course was a lot of a thrower's course. I mean, it can, if your drives are off, your putt can save you no matter what the course is. But these greens were, they weren't super challenging. There wasn't a bunch of slopes, a bunch of OB. It wasn't like some courses we play on tour where there's water and slopes and OB everywhere. And so I was able to control my angles and use both my sidearm and backhand approaches to really get a lot of upshots close and have a lot of tap-in birdies. I think that's super important, is to go throughout a round and have some tap-in birdies, not birdies that you have to make a 30 or 40 footer every time, because that takes its toll. You're not going to make every one of those. But if you can mix in a couple park jobs on a drive or an upshot on a par 4 to kind of make the round a little bit more smooth and not feel like you're stressing on every single hole to have to make that 30, 40 foot putt to get a birdie. So I think that really took a lot of pressure off myself. So that way, when I had that longer putt for birdie, I seemed to make it because I didn't have to do it on every hole. Mm-hmm. And so I think that played a big role.
Yeah. So you played this event last year and you were 17th place. Now, last year's a different story, obviously, than this year. It's a totally different year and season. But you took first this year. Do you think it was your experience on the course that helped you play better, or do you think the changes to the course? Because I heard there were significant changes played more favorably to your game.
Yeah, no, that's a great observation. Yeah, I didn't play very well last year. I think that it's a good course. The design is great. There's a lot of amazing holes, but it's a weird style, as in the holes are really long. Like hole 1's a longer hole, but you'd really, as long as you don't throw it in the water, you basically can throw it almost anywhere on the hole to the right hand side and have an upshot for a birdie. So last year I was really just trying to throw really far bombs off the tee, when like this year I was throwing like a T-bird and then throwing a pig into the basket. So I just kind of toned it down on the holes where I saw danger. Whereas last year my course management wasn't as good. So I think it falls back to like what you said. Yeah. Playing the course, knowing that if you throw an extra 50 feet on a hole, it doesn't make a difference. You're still throwing a putter into the basket. Mm-hmm. And so it was one of those courses where 50 feet makes not much of a difference, whereas some courses it does. 50 feet may be the difference between throwing a mid-range and a driver. So maybe you get that skip with the driver versus the mid-range. If you're closer, you don't get that skip and you have an easier putt. So that kind of stuff played a role, I think, this year. And I wasn't as much like attacking the course. I was just taking what it gave me and not really trying to overpower it.
Mm-hmm. I think one of the big storylines of this week as well was Eagle McMahon had a chance to tie it up on the final hole. I was saying earlier in the podcast that I thought that bunker played as a hazard. I didn't get to watch too much coverage until the last round, but seeing Eagle land there, had a putt for the Eagle to kind of tie you and potentially go into a playoff. What are your feelings when he misses that? Is it just like a huge sigh of relief? Are you thinking that he's going to make that putt and you're going into a playoff?
Yeah, no, it's a weird thing because I was kind of out of position on the drive, so I really didn't have a chance to get a 3. And Paul was pretty much, I knew when he threw his drive, he was pretty much not going to get a 3. Mm-hmm. So he was pretty much out of it because he was on an upslope on the 18. There's like an upslope that if you land on that, you have an uphill run up that's really hard to throw a shot. So it was pretty much after the drives, it was pretty much me and Eagle. And it was, and I had a 1. I was like, all right, I just need to at least get a 4, put some sort of pressure on him. And if we go to a playoff, that's great. I still have a chance to win. So mm-hmm. I was playing for a 4 after my drive. And I guess kind of hope he missed the putt, but to be able to make it, did fine with that. I would have went to the playoff like we had to do. To do that, but yeah, I'm not really rooting against him to miss it, but I'm situating myself situationally to where if he does, and so I think that's the best way to describe it. Mm-hmm. And he missed the putt, and I was able to put myself right there and have a tap in for the win. But yeah, and the other thing that was going through my head is like the holes in the playoff. Like if I would have, if there was a hole that maybe the first, second, or third hole of the playoff that maybe I didn't play very well, maybe I would have been more aggressive because I didn't want to play that playoff hole. But hole 1, I had birdied, I think 2 out of 3 rounds, and hole 2, I birdied 3 out of the 3 rounds. So I was really comfortable with those holes coming up. So I didn't mind playing in the playoff at all.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.